What's up guys, Mike here, and today we've got a review on 7 Deadly Sins chapter 206. Now this chapter, I gotta say, I say this about a lot of chapters lately, but it's true, they're fucking hype, right? They're on point, especially this one, you know, it was all the above. So we start this chapter at the same spot that we started it last chapter, with Narabasta talking to Gowther, and obviously she's under his control, and she's kind of explaining what their whole plan is and what their goal is. And their goal is obviously to get their comrades or constituents from the celestial world, which we find out is the name for the heaven of the 7 Deadly Sins world, and we find out that they want to bring all of their companions back from that world once they defeat the demon demon ranks and claim the land for themselves. Narabasta goes on to explain how Lucidel or Rucidel, whatever you want to pronounce it, I'm just going to call it Lucidel for this video, probably change it around because the translations I've seen multiple different ones. Recently I'm seeing the one with R more than I am with the L, but it doesn't really matter, you get who I'm talking about. It starts out with her explaining how he is the superior angel above all else. He is more intelligent, charismatic, which I don't know why that makes him a better angel, and more magical power than the other 4 angels. And obviously that shows that he's a big threat. He's got a lot to offer, and he's not one to be messed with. She explains that Lucidel has also given up everything to be there, and he's also given up his family, his friends, and he's a man who threw everything away for a single objective. And Gowther goes on to say, well, I actually kind of know somebody like that too. And it took me a second to realize it, but Gowther was definitely talking about Meliodas there, and how he gave up all of everything that he had within the Demon Clan and his father and everything for one single objective, and that is Elizabeth, I'm assuming. So that's pretty cool that there's a parallel between Lucidel and Meliodas. And it makes me think, is there maybe one higher angel above the 4 archangels like there is with Meliodas, and how there's one big Demon King, and maybe the Demon King and the main angel had fought it out for a while in the past, and that's why the Demon King, or maybe even both of them, are dead or sealed away or something like that. And that could relate back to the parallels between Meliodas and Lucidel from betraying their friends and giving up everything they had. Lucidel could have betrayed the goddess, angel, master, god, whatever you want to call it, and came down and started his own thing or something of that sort. It's unclear at this point, but it's some gray lines that you can kind of follow along with. So then we see the design of the Celestial Gate, which I agree with Maricilia, who shows up right when it appears that it's a bit tacky. It doesn't really look that great. I mean, it's just a bunch of angel statues around the outside. I mean, they could have made it look a lot better, especially with the armor and the designs that they have for the characters. They probably could have just made it a little bit cooler. I'm sure if there's a demon gate or to the hell, it would probably look pretty badass. So the angels should step up their style. Maricilla basically just goes to talk to Gowther to explain to him how they're at a disadvantage, and she kind of just left because it was obviously a trap and they were getting annihilated by the other 2 of the archangels, and Gowther just was like, well, you probably went right by Lucidel on your way back here, so real nice leaving your friends like that. So then they're back on the battlefield with Tarmiel throwing some major attacks. He's making up some sort of big Omega Arc again, not really the same thing as Omega Arc, just a smaller one that he's going to blast from his hand at Galen. And then we see, not at Galen, sorry, but Galen does attack him right there. And we see him blast Galen right back after one of the hands on his head mutters something and then kind of creates a little angel circle type thing. I don't know what it was really, but it created a blast to defend him from Galen's attack. So it makes me think, and also the other head does the same thing with Derriere as she attacks in a second there. So it makes me think that those heads each have their individual purpose. I mean, why would they be there if they didn't? But the purpose has something to do with being able to see his blind sides maybe, and protecting people who attack him from other sides. Or maybe they literally have their own intelligences and own consciousness, and it's 3 people in this one angel's body. We don't know for sure yet, and it seems like they're speaking some other language. They're muttering some kind of maybe goddess language or something, speaking to the main head who's in control. We don't know for sure yet, but it is interesting to think about. So this fight scene is starting to get intense when Galen is then hit by one of Tarmiel's huge spell that he was charging up, and basically Galen tries to catch it and he can't, and he's pounded into the ground, and he's still trying to catch it, as you see. But then Mossbeak comes in for the rescue, shoots one right through their head, right through all 3 heads, triple collateral, and dummies them with a quickscope probably. As I've said before, Mossbeak is one of my favorite characters, so see him you know, bash their heads like that was pretty cool. But it was a little sad to see him get literally sliced to pieces by Sariel. And then we go in to see what kind of powers Sariel might have when Derriere goes for the punch there, and her hand completely disintegrates, just like Mossbeat's hand from earlier when he attacked and kind of thought that he missed, and he got his arm scratched up completely, not to shreds like Derriere's, but it seems like he's got either some sort of mini force field around him that shreds whatever comes in with him, or he's just extremely fast and he just like chops away at their hands or slices away at their hands before they can even get a second to do things. Either way, Derriere punches right through it and takes the kid's eye out, and it was hilarious to see that little brat get his eye taken out after being so cocky, and especially from Derriere, who's just a straight up badass. It's awesome. Back on Gallon, another one of my favorite Ten Commandments, we see him getting pounded by that big spell that Tarmiel just did in the previous page, and then he has a little bit of a strength push where he does his critical over, pops up right beside Sariel with the blast in hand. He's holding it with his hands, which is already amazing, and then he blasts it right down, slams it right down on his head, and that was an awesome move. Great move by Gallon, it looked amazing. Unfortunately, Gallon's brief moment of glory does not last for long, and he's shish kebabbed by Lucidel when he gets pounded by a couple lasers. I know I'm saying pounded a lot, but I just use that word. Pounded by the beams that Lucidel fired at him, and they just go right through him, about 6 or 7 of them. And he looks like he's out for the count for a little bit. I mean, obviously he can regenerate, but he did not see that coming at all. And Lucidel's big appearance where he says, well, hello. And he's standing over Fraudron's body like he just easily defeated him, which I guess I'm not too surprised about. Fraudron we've discovered in the previous chapter and my theory video. If you haven't seen that yet, go check it out. But I discuss in that how Fraudron is really not that powerful, and he's more of a subordinate than he ever was a Ten Commandment. But yeah, no, Lucidel says, well, hello and goodbye, as if he's about to eradicate them all with confidence. Now this is when the chapter starts to get really worrisome for our Ten Commandments. I mean, they were already at a disadvantage just against Sariel and Tarmiel, and we hadn't seen their full abilities yet. It seems like they were just messing around, to be honest with you. But even still, they were boasting pretty high that they could just kill them in 5 minutes. So you gotta wonder, are they just really cocky? Are they overconfident? Or did they have the ability to do it? We didn't really get a chance to see in this chapter. I mean, they were putting up a good fight, but they weren't really dominating for the most part. And then obviously Lucidel shows up and things get turned around pretty quickly as Derriere tries to attack him with a kick, and he teleports right behind him. He gouges her gut pretty much, takes her stomach, and Mossbeats from far away. Like, it was like he could do it from wherever he was standing. It was an amazing spell, and it seems like he's just overpowered as fuck. Especially because he can stop Mossbeat's bullets right in the air as well. He didn't even have to catch them or block them or anything. He literally just put his hand up and stopped them before they even touched him, which makes you think like he's got some serious juice. I did like this little scene that came next where Nerabasta was explaining Lucidel's kind of motives a little bit and saying that he drives beasts into a corner and finishes them off without fail. And that's kind of just what he does, and that's what he's good at. And Maricela just kind of reminds her that that would work fine for normal beasts, but these aren't normal beasts. These aren't your run-of-the-mill monsters. We're the Ten Commandments, and we don't fuck around. And I do like that scene, and it just goes to show that, you know, even though they have the advantage right now, the Ten Commandments aren't out for the count. They still have some moves up their sleeves, as shown at the end of the chapter. We see a brand new move never done by the Ten Commandments before, and I'll get into that in a second. So then Mossbeat and Derriere are about to do their special attack, and they say, this seems as far as we go. I guess we've got no other choice. And that makes you think, okay, well, we kind of suspected that they didn't really have much of a chance against the main Archangel by themselves, but it also says it seems this is as far as we go. So does that mean that they're going to be sacrificing their lives with this ability? Because we know that they stick their heart in their chest, they pull out 6 of their hearts, and they destroy them. And I think that we saw in somewhere in the book, or in the chapters, sorry, that hearts don't regenerate, especially demon hearts. So when they destroy these hearts, do they ever get them back? And they also goes to say that they lose their ability to reason. So do they ever get that back as well? And that's really hard to wonder, because we do see them in our current day and they seem to be fine. So did they only have 1 heart then? Or did they get restored by the Demon King or something that happens in this fight? We don't know, but I guess we're going to find out. So as they're doing this sacrifice with their hearts, trying to get this new transformation, as we see in a minute, they kind of say, my true nature is dwelling up in my soul, will you release it? And I assume they're talking to the Demon King here. And Maricela keeps explaining the traits. She says that only a certain chosen members of the Ten Commandments will be picked. And as I said before, Fraudrin and Galen are running away, so they weren't chosen. And it makes me think that Dolar and Glanexia definitely weren't chosen because they were added after this. Gowther doesn't have a heart, so the chosen ones are probably something to do with Meliodas, who is the Demon King's son. He's probably got this this transformation within him, where if he destroys 6 of his hearts and now offers them up as a sacrifice, he can let his true dwelling soul release or whatever. And that's probably what Meliodas has been foreshadowing at, or what the story has been foreshadowing at for Meliodas since the beginning. And I remember in the anime, we always used to see that shadow in the opening of Meliodas, and it makes you think like, wow, is that kind of like the demon inside of him? Or is the demon inside of him referring to the other guy that he talks about, you know, the evil just Meliodas, and then from that we have the evil Meliodas, just not the evil Meliodas, but the bad one with the different symbol, who just doesn't give a shit about anybody. And maybe he actually has the 6-heart transformation that we've seen in this chapter. So Monspeet and Derriere finally finished their transformation into the evilest existence. And I'm not gonna lie, they look very, very, very cool. I was not expecting such a cool design, and if more characters of the Ten Commandments or the demons have transformations such as these, I think it's gonna be very, very epic. And I also recognized immediately when they transformed, that they kind of resemble insects, and how Monspeet has 10 arms and he kind of resembles a spider in a way. And Derriere has a claw for a hand and a long, pointy, sharp tail, which makes you kind of resemble like a scorpion type thing. And I just thought that was really interesting how that might be sort of a relationship. It could be a different representation of an animal or something like that, but I don't really know what the name Endura means, and that's what the beasts, both beasts are called. All of the beasts, I'm guessing, are called Endura. And it would be interesting to see if they represented some sort of animals or some sort of circle of life or something like that, because of what we saw in this chapter. Either way, the designs look awesome, and I'm definitely going to be using them as a thumbnail. I can't get over how cool these transformations look, especially Derriere's, but even though I can't even say which one I like more, because Monspeet's is just as good. I especially like the sharp tail and the long hair from Derriere, though. I think that's probably the coolest part. And she goes in for a big punch on Lucidel in this chapter, and she actually lands it as we see at the end, which I wasn't expecting, but definitely brings some hype to these transformations, and definitely has some speed and power with it. And she actually punches him with her claw hand, because she doesn't have another one. From what I can see, it doesn't look like she has another hand at all, actually. Either way, this chapter was awesome. After reading this chapter, I had a few thoughts in my mind, and one of them was that this war really, it's not just for winning. And this kind of becomes a little bit more clear in this chapter. This war is, each side has something they need to win for, and the Goddess Clan kind of described it in this chapter. And yes, they want to destroy and dominate the demons because they think that they're just useless pieces of garbage, but they also have another reason to it, and they want to bring everyone back from the celestial world. And it seems like and they have to rid the world of the demons so that they can obtain the abundant power of the magic from the land to do this. So it seems like they want to bring back their friends from wherever is going on, and I'm really interested in the celestial world and what's going on there, and I might even make a theory video on it like I did before. But either way, we find out that the Goddess Clan are fighting for that, and now we know that the Demon Clan have been fighting for 1, self-defense this whole time, and 2, it seems like they might have some hostages of the Demon Clan. Obviously, as we know from the past, the goddesses have killed the Demon Clan's kids that they kept hostage. So this war is about to get more interesting, because I remember when Narrowbasta first appeared, she does say that, oh, I'm so sorry about killing your kids, or that wasn't me, that was the upper goddesses, don't worry about it, I'm sorry. So that's probably going to happen soon in this flashback arc, and we see that shit's about to hit the fan. So I'm definitely excited for that. But besides that, that's all I got for today's chapter. I really hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please leave me a like and subscribe, even a comment if you feel like it. And that's all I got for this one. Thanks, guys. Peace out.